So good morning. In the light of what we described yesterday concerning different levels of divine providence, according to the level which a person puts his trust in Hashem. There are many illustrations to this, and in the light of this we can better understand one of the brachos in the daily tefillah, which is our tzaddikim, our chasidim, we say every day. So the tzaddikim are those who keep the mitzvot. The chasidim are especially those who do actions of loving kindness. Zikne angebetet ve'el. These are the leaders of the nation who give us direction, and to the direction of the communities, Hashem Shamayim, take heaven. And Platos of Behem are the teachers of Am Yisrael. Certainly whom it says, Daniel Matzdik HaRabbi, those who bring righteousness to the wider public are like stars forever. Algeria Tzedek, and the righteous proselytes are at a very high level. And then we say, even if we don't belong to any of these high categories, we're just ordinary Jews. We're only Jews, so we're not tzaddikim, not chasidim, not gevei tzedek, we don't have all this. Nevertheless, we say, let your compassion be over us, like says prophecies, that Hashem has compassion upon the people. And it says also by the certain qualities of loving kindness, that even though we're not suitable, I'll have compassion upon them. Then it says, give tzachar tov, all those who trust in your name in truth, those who know the truth of your name. This is connected with the verse also which we say at the end of the tefillah. That those who trust, that those trust in you who know your name, means who keep close to you, they try to put their trust in you. Because you will not forsake those who seek after you. Even have a found, but they're seeking Hashem, Hashem will not forsake them. So this is based upon the principle we mentioned, that if people deny Hashem and don't think of Him, if are removed from Him, and they just forget about Him altogether, so Hashem may also forget about Him, as it were, midah keneged midah. He'll still give them reward for any good deeds they do, on a very low level, because each person could then be judged by Hashem, how far he could choose to go in the right path, and how far he neglects it. But those who try hard to put all their trust in Hashem, they are given higher levels of providence. That's why we say, Simcha Keinu Em Olam. Please make our portion with them, with those higher ones, whom Hashem looks after. Rosh, and we shall not be ashamed in our sins and our deeds, because the concept of trust in Hashem is confined with the feeling of shame. It means we're ashamed of our sins. On the other hand, we put our trust in you. as it also says in the special prayer for Purim, all those who trust in Him should not feel ashamed in eternity. That means because they put their trust in Hashem, they are raised to a higher level. So this is the concept also why you should start the morning like says the Shulchan, you see Hashem Lekhi Tamid. Always have Hashem's presence, although it's so far above us, as we feel awe in front of the presence of Hashem constantly. So even at the end of the verse is very significant. It says, Shivita v'lekitame, ki mimini v'alemot. Because you from my right hand, I will not waver. Shomreini keil, to live for because I put my trust in you. So there's a person, he goes around, whatever he's doing day by day, whether he's learning Torah, whether he's doing mitzvah, whether he's engaged in business and his work, but at the back of his mind and heart, he always goes around with the recognition, Hashem is with me. If he's on that level, Hashem will be with him. Hashem promised this. That's why this is developed by the Rambam, as we saw yesterday. So you have any question on this before we now go back to this text, which is based on this principle? Text on
From yesterday, I have a question.
Yes, please.
We said that things are predetermined, but and I said that Moses flew the Egyptian. Could be a free will of choice to do that or not. But don't forget, there's one thing the Kodesh Book said before. Moses was exactly the same time passing by when it happened, his chariot. If Moses had passed by 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes later, he would have missed the whole thing. So something has to be controlling the world, controlling nature, or controlling things that happen.
So trust in Hashem, it means one recognizes that there's constant divine providence. It might sound very far removed from the ordinary Western attitude that things that happen are happenings. It happens by chance. But there's the English word called coincidence. Coincidence even implies that incidents that happen, they come together. Now, there's been a lot of research, just there's been research, very wide nature, in purposefulness in nature. That's really the basic of scientific investigation. Keep on finding more purposes. For example, 150 years ago, it was thought that the human body contains more than 100 vestigious limbs, which are not really necessary. We explain this partly also to be a random element which goes in the evolution of the species. But since that time, they found that there's no such thing. All these 100 so-called vestigious aspects of the human system, human body, they all have a purpose. The purpose we discovered in the development of science. And the more the science grows, the more we see purposefulness in defining every aspect of the physical nature of the universe. Now, however, what happens in society, what happens in the relationship between the individual and things that happen throughout his life. It's also, it's thought it's coincidence. What's coincidence mean? It can happen. It can happen that when the moment when Moshe Rabbeinu went down from the palace, so he saw how the Egyptian taskmaster was beating a Hebrew slave to death. So he interfered. It happened that moment. Now, the same sort of thing in our lives, we happen to meet people. There's one area where most human beings feel it's not just a happening, a very personal matter. Because when it comes to what people call falling in love, what's the concept of falling in love? We know that a man and woman have got millions of possibilities of who they're going to choose as their life's partner. But then when they meet someone, they feel, if they're fortunate, and happen with everybody, that was most human beings, they feel they're meeting the one that is really their soulmate. They fit them in every aspect, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then that's how they build up their lives, to the exclusion of all other possible spouses. That's what in general literature is called falling in love. But in the Torah it's called rising in love. It's an aspect of a happening where people realize it's not a happening. It's like in marriage made in heaven. This really comes from above. Someone comes above on top of them. So therefore they're raised up by it. But this does not only apply in such matters, it applies in every matter that happens to human beings. That's sociologists started doing thorough research of what happens in human beings' lives. Came to the conclusion there's purposefulness also. And the person we met 20 years ago, then you meet him again. You see that you meet him with him is to continue a certain strand of connection which started 20 years ago this morning, and then 20 years later develops into something much more important for both sides. There's been a lot of scientific research done. But, to study with scientific research is really beyond the appreciation of the amateur. The amateur find it difficult, not a real sociologist, to go and study these matters. But to this we have, generally speaking, popularizers of scientific concepts. So one of the very famous novelists, Arthur Koestler, so we heard Thieves in the Night, which is a very popular novelist. And this popular novelist wrote very different, not just fiction, he wrote non-fiction books. He wrote major non-fiction works about the Spanish Revolution. And he named something heard of. And then he also wrote a book about the Kuzarim. He made big research on what we know in Jewish tradition of the Kuzarim. We know about the Kuzarim. We know about it. Yes? It's not what's well known because on the basis of that historical episode, which developed also to different legends, that a whole group of a certain tribe in the Ural Mountains, they all became proselytes to Torah, Judaism. And many say that part of the Jewry comes from them. And also he studied the research on it and he developed it in a more popular fashion. He did the same, he called it the roots of coincidence. And there he describes this concept in a way that doesn't sound easy to become amazed. That the research has shown that what happens to individuals are not just happenings. They are things that are put together with some form of design, bring each person a partial fulfillment of what seems to be their real potential. Of course, here is an interchange between human choice and what's called predeterminism. I mean, this research is not directly connected with it being directed by God, by the Creator. But it's just what's happening. The happenings are not just random happenings. They're happening are working towards a purpose, except that the same principle we have today also in the world, that is a scientific presentation in schools and colleges. So there are many great scientists who say that the designer explanation is more logical than any other explanation. And it's accepted in many American states as being a completely academic presentation of science on the basis that it is designed from the Creator. And here in Israel, I think it's part of the problem. In Israel, those who follow Torah are at a very high level. There's a great fulfillment. Unfortunately, it's an element that feels constantly inferior to the academic world. And therefore, they give in to all sorts of the weaker elements in the academic world. So, now, there's great scientists, one of the greatest scientists in the Ministry of Education, Professor Horovitz, and he suggested as a curriculum for the Ministry of Education, they should permit in the schools in which they teach evolution, and many say evolution for that you don't need the Creator. So he said you should use an alternative as the designer interpretation. They should make this authoritative that any school curriculum wants to follow and give also an explanation of what the designer should be authorized. So they dismissed him from his position. This was not the previous, the earlier government, the previous one. So here there's a strong bias against all these matters. Yeah. As I also told you, I found this is one of the greatest ecologists in the world. Some regard as the greatest professor of ecology from Germany, Utermann, and he wrote an article in the Israeli Journal of Biology where he spoke about the ecological genius of Moses. Yeah? Because they described the different laws of the Mosaic Pentateuch which seem to precede thousands of research productions made in the recent century, and Moses seems to know all about it. So when I met with him and asked him, do you really believe Moses could have known all these things? So he said, no, I don't. No human being could have known all these things. And it's obviously divine. What's written in the Pentateuch must come from God, not from Moses. So Moses did write it down. So I said, well, why did you mention that? It's like the Gemara says. The Gemara speaks about that. Was Moses a zoologist, the Gemara asked? Was he, maybe he was the head. He was the head of the worldwide zoo, was able to know all the animals and birds. Where did he know it all from? And they say, you can't shoot Torah min hashamayim. So why do you say the same thing? I said, I do say the same thing. But if I will put it in this journal, they won't publish it. There's dogmatism. There's modern dogmatism. Now, when it comes to the roots of coincidence, Arthur Koestler will go to the question, where did it come from that we find purposefulness in individual lives? Because this is part of what we call, this is Hashgacha Protis. Hashgacha Protis on every human event that takes place. Only there is, as the Ramban says, there are people who don't want to know about Hashem. They won't notice it. So therefore they don't realize it. They don't realize that they're also under Hashgacha Pratit. And therefore, they don't grow from it. Because the others, the tzaddikim, grow from it, because they see in everything that happens, it's the hand of Hashem. Intertwined with freedom of choice. So in the light of this, here if you look, those who can follow inside, the advantage here you've got this written in very good modern Hebrew, so you can follow it inside. Page 460, very much short of the copy. Page 460, in the middle of the page. So here it says, There are situations where a person's level of Avodat Hashem, sometimes a person's level in the pattern which Hashem has for human beings is in his own merit, because he tries hard to link up with Hashem in everything. But there are other human beings whose purpose in the world is not for themselves. But they themselves, they don't recognize even someone that's got a soul. They think they're just following instincts, and that's what they follow. Whatever do comes naturally by instinct. You don't believe in right or wrong. It's only thinking makes it so. But these people themselves, and even the wicked people, they are bechinat kli. They are means to an end. They also have a purpose in the world. They have a purpose to demonstrate what happens when people cut themselves off from Hashem. Now then, their purpose not as in themselves is to be a means for others. And this depends upon the merit of the person who's judged. That means whenever Hashem judges a human being, he takes into consideration the impact whatever this person does upon those who depended upon him. His wife, his children, the people connected with him. So that applies when a person really serves Hashem himself, like Ish Kazeh. But a man who is just a means to other purposes, there isn't a reckoning what happens to this person as one individual, but rather about his connection with others. If the other person who's done something wrong and therefore is punished, then even this person will be punished. Well, this person's existence and purpose is dependent on the one who's been given the judgment. So this is the significance of the words of the Gemara, which say, when we were young and youthful, and that time, Misha Poter Hashem Ot, when we, other words, we were active ourselves to recognize we have to be active in pursuing virtue. And we have to be active in clinging to Hashem. Then he's got, through his own effort, he has a great merit. Therefore, the divine providence of what happens to him goes into great detail. You find the hand of Hashem in everything that goes on with him. He gives an example here from Am Yisrael, from the people of Israel, when they started wandering in the desert. So, they went to the desert where there's no water, and where there's no food, and they decided they're going to follow Hashem. But they see Hashem took them out from Egypt, and he saved them at Kriyat Yamsuf. Hashem will left with name Yomah. And they saw the pillar of fire at night and the pillar of glory in the day, that Hashem was leading them. If Hashem is leading them, they would have trusted him. But some of the people of Am Yisrael at that time, they thought we have to fend for ourselves. And we can't put our trust in Hashem, and we've got to consider the reality that we're in the desert. We knew this, that some of them would say, they had this self-confidence. There's no connection with Hashem. So such people, these were the people who were not protected with clouds of glory. And that's why Amalek was able to destroy them, because these people said, who says that Hashem is looking after us? And they didn't trust him. Even after this miracle, they said, still, we can't rely on him. And of that, Chazal say, Kol HaMitga'ed Yochek Rach, anyone who prides himself and thinks he's the one who produces everything, he pushes away the feet of the divine presence. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer Alav, Hashem says about him, Ein ani v'hu yicholim ladur b'olam echad. I and he cannot live in the same world. Right? It's true, we live together. But some people say, we're entirely dependent on our own power. And then what happens to these people? Nevertheless, these people still exist because of the others. For they are really a means to them, to help them in some ways. Maybe to help even others to realize how wrong it would be to forget about Hashem. More, as it been said, those who serve Hashem is complete and truthful, then the divine providence is very personal, and a person can see it. But the others, Rosh can see it. He does not really have connection directly with divine personal providence. And whatever happens to him is on the basis of general providence, where the Hanaga, Klapav, it depends on happenings. What is considered full judgment with regard to the saints is just a happening with regard to the other human beings who are really just tools to support the general nation. Now I think we can apply this to the state of Israel. The state of Israel is certainly a group that tries hard to strengthen trust and closeness to Hashem. And really the learning of Torah produces this. The person is constantly connected with the theory and the practice of Torah and Mitzvah. So he ties his whole life to Hashem and recognizes day by day, model from there, you give back my soul. And so the day goes through, all the day through, he recognizes that Hashem is leading me. And even has great success, he says, not my success, it comes from Hashem, it becomes very wealthy. He says, it comes from Hashem, it says, also ready to give it away to those who need it. And if he's great in his learning, or he might be great also in being able to do something for the defense of Israel, which was I'm involved with, he says, it comes from Hashem. And that's how he serves in the army, or that's how he does his business, or that's how he works as a representative of the community, not for himself. And if he just thinks, of course, it does not mean when you put trust in Hashem that you're inactive. On the contrary, you're more active. You become active also with a full feeling of fulfilling a purpose given by Hashem himself. You become active in doing chesed, active in healing, active in helping. So you become an outgoing person helping others. But a person who says, it's all my work, everything is what I do, then it easily becomes clean. And Hashem says, right, what happens to you happens. For example, you can also see why here in Israel there are quite a few political leaders who constantly use the word I. Even psychologically, even analyze it. The person who says, also all day long, I say this, I say this, I know this, I know that. He becomes a person who's basically worshipping himself. Therefore, I call it the unholy trinity of I, me, and myself. They just analyze some of the statements made by people in high positions and analyze how often do you use the word I. Do what I say, this is what I say, my opinion, it's my opinion. I mean, obviously, it also arouses a lot of problems. When people see this person egocentric, so egocentric, therefore people also ready to recognize his statement as being objective. So when people are saying, I'm only working for the good of the country, I'm only working for other people, but I say this and I say that. I've got to say it here and I've got to say it there. Well, you can't wait a few weeks that people should willingly listen to you. No, I've got to say my opinion. My opinion. If it's something which needs to be clarified, the truth will come out. The truth you can put also, you don't have to say it in front of a body of elected people, and they're in another country, you might be provoking them. You shouldn't provoke people in a negative fashion, even if we have a big problem. We know we've got enemies, and the enemies, we do believe that we have to work against enemies. That last week's parsha we see, he who comes to kill you, then kill him first. If there's no other way, disarm him if you can. If you can appease him, fine. If you can't, then don't wait till it's got the knife at your throat. Or the whole hashkeba. On the other hand, we do say, especially in matters of life and death, that you should always work on principles. Follow Darfi Shalom as much as possible. Try and follow the path of peace as much as you can. And also don't provoke hostile elements. They say hostile elements is something like a mad dog. That sleeping dogs lie. English statement. Those arouse them because they can bark, but sometimes they'll bite. So let's sleep. We have to find the right path.